It's episode 9 of my spring series, and to celebrate the start of peak beetroot season, I'm making a beetroot, basil and goat's cheese quiche. Now I'm starting off by making my own pastry, but if you want to go ahead and just buy shop-bought short crust, it'll be really delicious as well. Just skip ahead to 2 minutes 50 in this video and just remember to blind bake your pastry. If not, then let's start with this pink beetroot short crust. So I'm going to start by weighing the flour into a large mixing bowl, and then I'm going to throw in my cubed salted butter and work that into the flour slowly until I get a kind of like breadcrumb consistency with some larger bits of butter. And then I want to try and maintain those clumps of butter throughout the flour because that will give it that nice crispy short consistency. So when I add in my whisked egg and the pickled beetroot juice, I'm working that into the flour with a butter knife, just cutting it through so it gets distributed throughout, and slowly adding a bit more in to try and hydrate all the flour. I can start using my hands to work in gently, and if I see there's still a few dried bits, I can add a little bit more of that iced pickled beetroot juice. Then once that's distributed throughout, I can transfer that onto a work surface and knead it slightly just to bring it all together into one ball, flatten it out, and then it can go in the fridge to rest for about 30 minutes just to firm up a bit. Then I'm going to dust my work surface and start rolling out my dough. So to do this, I just dust it all over with flour, and then I'll roll it out a bit, turn it by like a quarter, and then start rolling again, and that will help me keep kind of a round circular shape. I want to get it to about 2 centimeters thick, and then I'm going to roll it onto my floured rolling pin and then roll it back out on top of the tart case. And then I'm going to use a tiny bit of the excess dough to lift the edges and work that pastry into the side of the oiled case so that it can go into all those little edges. If there are any tears or holes, then I can just use some of that excess pastry to fill the gaps in, just using a bit of water to make sure that it sticks. And then I like to leave the pastry overhanging because that means if I've slightly overworked it, then it shrinks, then I still have my full case covered in pastry and I can still use all of my filling. Then I'm going to prick it with a fork all over the bottom and the sides so that it doesn't rise too much. I'm also going to fill it with some baking beans or dried rice and bake it for 20 minutes until it's nice and dry. So now I'm ready to move on to this beautiful filling. You can use pre-cooked beetroot if you like, but if I have the time, I prefer to roast them from raw myself because then you can preserve as many nutrients as possible. And it is super simple. All you've got to do is rub them in a bit of oil and salt, completely cover them with tin foil, make sure there's no gaps, and then bake it in the oven for about an hour until you can easily insert a knife into them. And then you want to leave them to cool in the foil, and then you should be able to just peel the skin off with your hands. It's so easy and satisfying. You just kind of end up caught red-handed. And now I've got my cooked beetroot, I can move on to my vibrant quiche filling. So super simple. In a jug, I'm going to mix milk, cream, some parmesan, a bit of goat's cheese, some salt and pepper, some egg yolk, and a whole egg. And then I'm going to add my cooled down cooked beetroot. Important that it's cool and not hot. You don't want to curdle your mix. And then just blitz it with a stick blender until it's completely smooth, and look at that color. Oh, obsessed. Now I just need to do a little bit of prep on my fillings. I'm using some pickled beetroot, but you can use cooked. I just like the little bit of acidity that it brings into the quiche, and I'm cutting it up into sticks, but really you can go for any shape you want. Then I'm going to wilt down my spinach in a pan with a bit of salt and a bit of garlic, and I'm going to roughly chop that up once it's cooled down. Finally slice some basil and mix that in with the spinach, and then just roughly chop the goat's cheese to create little clumps that I can add in. And then we're ready to fill our quiche, so I'm going in with half of the quiche mixture, and then I'm going to add little clumps of my spinach and basil mix, just throw the matchsticks of beetroot about and add half of my goat's cheese in at this stage as well. Then I'm going to cover that with the rest of the quiche mixture, and at this point I'm going to concentrate a little bit more on trying to make the top look pretty, so just alternating the spinach, basil, goat's cheese and beetroot in a concentric circle so it looks nice. Then I can bake it in the oven and it's ready when the wibble wobble is kind of like a set jelly. Then I can leave it to cool down and trim off the edges with a bread knife, and all that's left to do is the trickiest bit, getting it out of the case in one piece. I'm taking it nice and slow, and that's it. Yay! All that's left to do is to grab a slice. If you'd like the recipe, then head over to my website, which is linked in the description. And if you're interested in reading all about the health benefits of beetroot and why it can help lower anxiety, then head over to my Substack, which is also in the description. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe for more every week.